Hello, world. Today we are going to be doing the top five TV shows, dramatic TV shows. I don't know. But to get us started, that is Cody.
And that's Kyle. And obviously, we are going to have some overlap in this one. And so let's get started with your number five because it's my number four. So go ahead.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy is my number five. And this is kind of like our director's thing, where it's like Sons of Anarchy is one of my favorite shows of all time. Like the fact that it's my number five is saying something about the list or the things that beat it out.
I agree.
So I basically found out about Sons of Anarchy when I was living in Havasu, and BJ's is definitely not a biker bar, but bikers go there. And they hold a few charity drives and whatnot at BJ's that are like part of the local biker gangs. Uh, they're called the Vagos. I'm gonna totally dox them. But they're the thing about like actual motorcycle gangs is that is actually what they're mostly like, doing charity drives and like toy drives, and it's rather like a lot of like innocuous stuff, which is something they do in Sons of Anarchy. They talk about how they want Charming to be, a friendly, family friendly community. And that's, why the biker gang is there to, enforce law and order. And that is when I found out about that show, is when I was living in Havasu. And sort of the way I do things, I found out about it and just binged it because it's that good.
So, real quick, actually, I'll say this because you and I frequently come down to like the actual word or like what we're saying really matters when it comes to the words that we're using. And I think that the term club would be far preferred for most people that are a part of these gangs that you called them. And yeah, so that's the thing is like motorcycle clubs exist around America and they're generally innocuous and doing rather good things in the community. They're
Yes,
not
my use of the word
they're
gang was wrong.
right. And so this is what I'll say though on Sons of Anarchy. Jax Teller is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And I know that's the same for you. And he's just awesome. I love everything about him. He has character, he has grit, determination, everything that you would say is good about a person, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that really is one of the things that makes that show so great, is like when you it's like when you have content or like base material that's just so good. Like, for example, a show we'll talk about at some point, Game of Thrones, it's based on like one of the best selling fantasy series of all time. So like when you have a character like Jax Teller to really build your entire show around, you're gonna have a lot to work with. Like the once again, the base material, there was just so much for them to build around that one character. And that's what's crazy is like Juice, Tig, uh and like a lot of these other characters are like the writing on that show and the character development is just like truly impressive.
Yeah, I agree. And especially like you were saying, like, dude, Tig, that is an amazing character development, character arc over a TV show.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because you really, I hate to say this word, but like you think of him as a scumbag. Like Tig seems like a scumbag at certain points. But then you're like,
He's
oh,
like an admitted rapist.
right. Yeah, exactly. So like there are really, really terrible things about this character. but the redeeming qualities are insane.
Right? Exactly. Like
Yeah.
how can like I actually have a positive view when I said what I just said about him? Like like overall, I would generally view want like you said, the character development and like yeah, maybe that was like his rape in the past, but once yeah, like that you like start to forget about this stuff because you know it's a TV show, and they're fictional characters and they deserve more redemption than real people.
So I think we should go into my number five because we did your number five, which is my number four, and that's Sons of Anarchy, which we don't need to do again because that's my number four.
Yeah, we'll do
Number
four,
five.
and then get into your number, or we should probably do my number three after we do your five.
No, we should do your number four because sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. So, anyways, my number five is Jack Ryan, and the most recent season of it actually aired recently, like within this last month.
I'm watching it right now.
Yeah. Are you done with the last season?
No.
We probably should have waited until you were done. Because I will say this, the last season is the best season.
Okay.
That's just how, yeah, I worked in a place where we had, probably, and my number estimation may be wrong here, but like I would say probably 10,000 Burmese refugees lived within the area of the Wells Fargo that I worked at in Denver. And so
Dude.
the Burmese Myanmar conflict is something I am actually familiar with. And basically it is, as you know, is basically a civil war. And that's why you have a lot of refugees from said war or conflict or whatever you want to call it. People just fleeing the area because they want to have a safer place to live.
Yeah, that is a refugee. That's
yeah, exactly. And so that's my thing. Is like the final season of Jack Ryan is about the Myanmar conflict, and it brings in the Mexican cartels, which is also just very, very interesting and well done, in my opinion. And that's something that you've also said about this show is like they nail the ABC like organizations, like bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it. So
yeah, like Greer becoming the deputy director of the FBI and like taking the place of Jack Ryan. It's like, yeah, oh wow, Jesus Christ, these are real positions that actually exist in our government. And they're like talking to the president and shit. And it's like, yeah, that's what really happens.
You said the FBI, and this is famously a CIA show. So
I thought I said CIA. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's my is it go and actually this is why I wanted to talk about the show is because I wanted to, or the reason I wanted to put it on my list is because you talked about how they kind of nail topical issues, and by that I mean things that are happening currently or like that were happening currently during the show. So let's start with season one. Season one is Suleiman, right? And he is the main adversary or antagonist of the show or whatever, right? And go ahead.
Is he a Syrian terrorist?
Yeah, and so that's what I think. But he's from Lebanon, and yeah, so it's totally, yeah.
Lebanon and Syria border each other, and we're talking about a geographic region smaller than the state you live in.
Yeah, exactly. So first season they do that and they touch on the Syria topic, which is really good. Second season they go South America and they do the like right wing, left wing type of narrative where it's like they have an extreme right wing dictator like leader in Venezuela, which is where that story takes place, is Venezuela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just because the next season is the Russia season, and
Ukraine, Russia, and Ukraine.
well, yeah, exactly. Well, no, isn't it the Czech Republic in
No.
Jack Ryan?
No.
Okay, no, never mind.
It is the Ukrainian president who is the woman that is the main person in that series or
You
season.
can look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure it's Czech Republic.
No, it's not.
Maybe like, yeah, never mind. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I guarantee it. I don't need to check it because I've watched it so many times.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then this final season is what we have already talked about, and they bring it to Myanmar, Burma, whatever you want to call it, and the conflict that's going on there. And they include the Mexican cartel with it. So it's a really, really good final season.
I'm actually really curious to see where they go because literally, yeah, I'm pretty sure I just finished episode 3 of a 6-episode season. Like, yeah, I'm like halfway through, so I'm sorry, but really excited to see where they go with the cartel stuff because, dude, like, what, like, a movie you haven't seen, I'm certain of, and you should watch. The Tax Collector is, yeah, it's got Shia in it, and we all love Shia LaBeouf. But anyways, it's like it is very, very much about like cartel shit. And I like on a geopolitical level, I really do think like cartels represent like a bigger threat than like Islamic terrorism, like all 100%, especially like if you're like considering like hemisphere, like what really do we have to worry about like that stuff? Like if you live in Britain, yeah, maybe you should be more worried about Islamic terrorists than Mexican cartels. But if you live in America, maybe not.
Yeah, no, we should not be afraid of Islamic terrorism.
Yeah. So I'm actually really fascinated to see where they go with the Mexican cartel, like combining with, and dude, I really love how they talk about like the Burmese organized crime stuff going back like centuries and being like this hidden society type stuff. The Burmese triads that they're talking, it's like, dude, that is because I think like the Mexican cartels are scary people, and if the Mexican cartels are afraid of the Burmese triads, then damn.
Right, I agree with everything that you're saying, and that's the thing is like these are not new gangsters. These are people who have been, doing
Centuries,
this forever.
centuries, really. I like.
Right. Yeah. Let's get beyond it, and you messed up the order because you thought, whatever, you almost messed up the order. But let's go with your number 4 because your number 4 is my number 1, which is weird, but yeah, you can talk a little bit about it.
And this is just feeding further into the point I was making earlier is like, that's actually, now that I think about it, probably a really good reason for us to do a top 10 list next time. Because every time we do these, it's like, how do you pick 5? Like, yeah. So my number 4, which is understandably your number 1, is Game of Thrones. And it's like, how's Game of Thrones so high up? And so, yeah, once again, why these top 5 lists are difficult. So really all I could say about Game of Thrones, because I'll let you elaborate on it later, is the comment, it's the meme. The last couple seasons of Game of Thrones just fell off. And that's really the only thing I'll say about it. We can talk about it later, but like, and oh yeah, I generally don't agree with critics on like anything, but
With that,
it wasn't great.
yeah, I disagree. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we'll get into that later, I guess. Especially because like it's if it's your number one like that.
I saw a meme recently that was like Jon Snow with little baby Daenerys is, and it was like this is the season 9 that we all deserved. And I don't disagree with that. I actually agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Is like there should have been another season. But that's why I actually
Wait,
today bought an HBO subscription because I want to watch House of the Dragon. So
how would there be Jon Snow Daenerys babies if she's dead?
right, that's
Should we talk about this later?
no, it was a meme. So like
Oh, we deserve like an ending where she doesn't die.
yeah, and they have
Yes.
babies and stuff. Yeah, more dragons and yeah, whatever.
I agree with that entirely.
Exactly.
She's the dragon mother, but I like Jon Snow as the dragon father.
Jon Snow's the man.
Yeah.
He's the one true king.
The one true king, the king in the north. Uh so you should probably do your number 4.
No, my number 4 was Sons of Anarchy, so I'm gonna do my number 3. I
Sorry.
really wish you had paid attention when we earlier had talked about this. But anyways, my number 3 is Peaky Blinders. I think what's that, 2 or it's 2 for you?
2,
Yeah,
my next one.
Peaky Blinders, great show. Another one where it's like, dude, the main character, Thomas Shelby, one of my favorite fictional people of all time. Literally, like, I love his character. He fought in a war, he got addicted to opium, he was married, he was a family man, he's a gangster. Like, yeah.
I was just about to say something that I like completely like I realized like doesn't really make any sense. And maybe it's just like his temperament or something, but like you don't get like the Jesus vibes the same way you do from like Jax Teller as you do from Tommy Shelby. So but that was I was thinking about like he's had to do a lot of bad stuff and like he fought in the war. But like the other, I was that made me think about some of the things that Jax had, like he killed his mom and like yeah. So like the point I was gonna make about them not being like as comparable, kind of I think falls away. You're absolutely right. They not only are they like aspirational characters, but they actually are similar in their like as a like main protagonist.
High character, cares about his family.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and Peaky Blinders.
Willing to like do anything, and that means illegal shit.
Yeah, and so Peaky Blinders is my number 2. So instead of coming back to it, just elaborate more. Did you freeze? I feel like you froze.
Maybe. Did I freeze?
Oh no. It just said your internet connection is unstable. It's me. Why would it not be me? Of course it's me. Anyways, sorry. Yeah, no, I just wanted to elaborate a little more on Peaky Blinders because it is my number 2. It's my second favorite show of all. Literally, it just beat up my number 1 for a very specific reason, which we will get to. But yeah, dude, Peaky Blinders is like, in my opinion, the best period piece there is. like because dude, Churchill is mentioned in the first episode. I didn't like realize. Yeah, like I talk about him like coming in later and like yeah, he's in the first episode. It's like yeah, it's very much a period piece, and I feel like it's pretty historically accurate.
Probably.
And like they bring in Oswald Mosley later as the British fascist, and it's like, dude, I do a deep dive on British fascism, like in my World History 2 class. So yeah, but dude, I fucking love Peaky Blinders. Love it.
It's a great show. And this is what I actually said when you thought I froze. Is I thought you were like, I want to expand on Peaky Blinders, and like, dude, not just Tommy, but the Shelbys as a family. Like, that's just such a great family. It's like one of our honorable mention shows, which we'll get to. But yeah, the family is just like, I love the family aspect of that show.
Yeah, the Shelbys.
The show.
It just like when John dies, it's like your brother died. It's like, yeah. And
John died, it was tough.
Arthur is also one of those like he like the Sons of Anarchy like character development. Arthur is like, dude, that character development, like they really let that. And I don't know who that actor is, but like he kills it. Like, yeah,
Does a really good job. Really good job. So my number two, where is The Walking Dead in your list?
yeah, that's my number 3. So that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Walking Dead, this is an easy one, honestly. It's got what, like 13 fucking seasons or something like that. But Rick is like the main character throughout, and this is actually what I would say. Rick, Daryl, and Carol. Those are the 3 main characters because everyone else fucking dies. And that's actually, hold on, that's what I wanted to say about one of our previous shows, Sons of Anarchy. Everyone fucking dies in that show. It's like,
oh, yes. Yeah. That's what's like by the end, like everyone's fucking dead. Yeah.
So, anyways, in The Walking Dead, like Glenn is one of the big deaths, obviously. Carl, which I ruined for you, unfortunately. Yeah, like you lose Glenn and you lose Carl, and it's like, well, but that was the main character.
Should I keep watching the show? Like, yeah.
It's like that's the main character besides Rick and Daryl and Carol.
And that's give up now?
Like, right. And so like that's the thing is actually I think he is one of my it was like, or no, it was my sous chef actually, and I asked him, I was like, you watch Walking Dead? And he was like, I stopped watching after Rick left. And I was like, yeah, I understand. And
that was like a season that,
yeah, it's like 2 seasons without Rick.
So you're like 10 seasons deep and you decide to stop. So right. That's actually what I was gonna say is like, yeah, if you followed the show,
right,
Rick, Daryl, and Carol are, first seasons all the way through, and then the last season or 2 doesn't really have Rick in it, and it's I'm sorry, but Daryl and Carol are very, very, very central figures all the way to the end.
Daryl and Carol show. Yeah.
So I'm gonna switch gears because this is literally actually the only note that I have on Walking Dead is Fear the Walking Dead, because right, how can we not, like, in my opinion, it's like a slash, and I almost like the show Fear the Walking Dead more than The Walking Dead. Like, for me, it's a toss-up.
I know you do, right?
Yeah.
And that's just where we disagree. And I
that's fine.
Really, really enjoy Fear the Walking Dead. It's a great show. But I personally think that the original Walking Dead is better. So that's it. The thing about this show also though is, and in comparison to my next one and my number one, The Walking Dead doesn't really have a world building aspects to it. They go off of the existing world. It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
dystopian and stuff like
No,
that. But it's not like the Lord of the Ring with Mordor and Middle Earth.
post.
It's not even like Harry Potter. Harry Potter has more of a world building.
I would argue that um pursuing a post-apocalyptic plot is world building.
Okay, if that's what you want to say, then yes, they do. But if you don't agree with that sentiment, then yeah, there's not much of a dude. Takes place starts in Atlanta. It literally starts in one of the biggest cities in America.
So, but like also like Charming, California is a real place. The Sons of Anarchy might even actually be a real motorcycle club. So
Yeah,
before we talk about Game of Thrones,
Sons of Anarchy. Yes, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Sons of Anarchy. I would also, you brought that up. I don't know why, but yes, Charming is a real place, and that's why there's no world building involved in the Sons of Anarchy.
There's no world building involved in any of your shows. Look at your list.
Yeah.
Except Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
So that is the point. Is that the point you're making? That your number one is the only one that does world building?
And so let's just get into it because we are there. And so my number one is Game of Thrones. And yes, so Kyle has it as like number 5 or 4, something like that. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Jack Ryan, I've watched all the way through all of the seasons, probably 4 or 5 times. Sons of Anarchy, only twice. Peaky Blinders, only twice. And Walking Dead, I've watched all the way through probably like 4 or 5 times. Game of Thrones, my number one show, I've probably watched all the way through all of the seasons, which is an extensive amount of time. 7 or 8 times. Yeah. So I've watched it so many times. Dude, that's why it makes me number one. And I'll start with the world building. It is literally, and I've referenced these 2 other things, which are movies, not TV shows, and actually the books before they were anything. And that's the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, because I think those 2 writers, Tolkien and Rowling or whatever, do some of the best world building in fictional lore or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's the first point, is on world building. Should I keep going?
I really just like am shocked that you would bring that up in a conversation about TV shows.
What, world building?
When it has no place in any of the other shows that we've mentioned.
Yeah, and again, you were saying, is this maybe why this is your number one? Yes, that's part of what I love about, dude, knowing that I see and study maps of West. You were talking earlier about like being a fan of maps. I literally love looking at Essos and Westeros on a map. Like, yeah, I know where Dorne is. I know where the Stormlands are. I know where the Winterlands are.
Well, no, it's actually based on like Europe. Westeros is essentially England. Like it's like a simple, and like the people across the sea in the northern horselands, those are like Mongolian.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so yeah, it's world building entirely. And also, like I said, it's like I just don't like that's fine, but like I just don't see it. as like if we were talking about like movies or something. I don't know. I just think this whole world building thing is an interesting
Right.
to make, and I didn't really expect you to make it.
Right. You think it's irrelevant.
No, that's not what I said. Well, not no. I just said I think it's an interesting point, but I